Hello, divine, beautiful souls.
Hello, everybody. It's Lisa and Katriel with Energy Speaks podcast on Sundays. Welcome.
So we got some great content for you today. Where do we want to start?
Well, we are in Scorpio season. I think this is a really good place to start. Plus, we've got the full moon coming up on the 20th. So, right now, of course, 3 days before, we are in the energy of the full moon. So, I think this is a good starting place, Katriel.
Yes. Okay. So let me actually speak upon Scorpio for like 2 seconds in regards to season wise. So as I spoke last week, in the Hebrew calendar, we're in the energy of Scorpio. Okay. And so that's based off of the moon energies and cycles. Now, what's interesting, as you just spoke in regards to the full moon, that right there, during that full moon, we are officially within the sun going into Scorpio season, which is pretty cool. Now, other things that are happening this week. Tomorrow, we officially are going direct with Mercury.
Ooh.
So it has now been 1 month since we've started this. Very interesting.
Very interesting. And, we don't want to totally let the stars control us. It's undeniable that when we get into a Mercury retrograde, that our computers, our phones get a little wonky. You might have car problems, appliances break. So, there's kind of this pattern that kind of happens around Mercury retrograde. And certainly it's all in how we respond. So, you're getting you're like, okay, you can either, just get really upset or say, okay, I'm not going to sweat the small stuff. I'll get it figured out. And it always gets figured out. So I think there's a certain beauty in Mercury retrograde because it can teach us respond with more of a calm.
Oh, do I have a story for you all? I don't know whether to share it now or later.
Oh, do share.
So I actually want to bring in something because this is actually what came through on my drive over to the studio. Came from Tampa. I'll get to why. So the topic that I kind of wanted to bring up, and it does relate to all of this, okay, is last week we talked about the 5 agreements, okay? Now, the one that I want to bring up this week is don't take anything personally. Mm-hmm. But I want to flip it upside down on y'all, okay? So normally we would think, okay, don't take things personally, especially when we're coming in contact with other beings and all of that. I literally had to, this is what came through is don't take anything personally, even in regards to our creator. Mm-hmm. Now, why do I say this? So, a little backstory here. Oh, gosh. So last night, let's say a week ago today, okay, I gave my, one of my best friends a computer that I completely cleared off and was like, hey, here, it'll help you with your stuff. Well, in that process, I had to delete files. Okay. Last night, I come to this, I get this very weird feeling in the pit of my stomach. And I went to go investigate because I wrote over the summer 3 books. Not in full, but I started 3 books. Okay. I just had this really weird feeling that some signals got crossed in the universe. So I went to go check those books. Apparently, my iCloud was linked with this computer. Oops. And I deleted everything. Not only do I remember when I deleted things last week, I happened to notice a communication on the computer, one of those pop-ups, right? Saying when you delete this, you'll have 1 month to retrieve your files, or 30 days.
Mhm.
Not true.
Oops.
So, needless to say, the 3 books that I had started are no longer existing.
Mhm.
And so I literally, I said, okay, there's got to be a way to fix this. Hashem, please. So what did I do? I went down to the Apple store because it's funny. At that moment, okay, so I was writing definitely soul communications with these books, right? I noticed last night as I was hallucinating within my dreams, and I woke up this morning. My stomach hurt so much. Okay, that was my interpretation of it, at least.
Mhm.
Okay, and so then, I kind of was like, all right, what do I do? So I went down to Apple, couldn't get anything right restored. So I called the Apple people and I sat on the phone probably like an hour, trying to work with the technician. Nope, it's gone. It's gone, bye bye. And so I had to like really like tune in, and I'm like, okay, I know there's a reason. And then I started thinking about last week's like podcast
Mhm.
and how we were talking about the 5 agreements and kind of like getting in the mood for that. And I said, wow, this is where I could either be super angry, right,
Mhm.
with the creator and be like, why is this happening?
Mhm.
Or I can kind of like lean in and say, Hashem, I really don't understand why, but I trust. And I'm totally allowed to have the feelings I'm having. I can have anger. I can have frustration. I can have sadness. What's bringing up is there was some sort of an attachment. Okay? It happens. It totally happens. But, you know, um, what I've noticed is this past year, also something that's happened is all my artwork and my jewelry, all of my creations went bye bye. So it's a theme. But that's where the magic is, because if, I have to guide this in a positive direction. Like personally, that's the only way I can level up.
Yeah.
And that gives me fuel for more creations. And what also is happening is something is out there in the ethers. It's been created. It's not like I never created it. It's just not in the way I thought it was going to go out to the universe. And trusting that process, it's like sending it directly to the creator and saying, transmute, please. I don't know what it'll turn into, but I'm sure that you all have probably had something like this happen. And my advice for you is to just lean in
Mhm.
and have compassion for yourself too. Because I know I wanted to beat myself up this morning, physically, emotionally, all of it. But is that really helping things? No.
Yeah, Katriel, if you give me permission to go in and read you, I can give you some insight on this. Because Spirit's giving me so. Okay,
Totally.
So thank you for the permission. So you're going to get a little bit of a live reading on this podcast.
Oh my
so
word.
So what Spirit is showing me is that when you began those writings and who you are now is so different and so transformed that the writings are going to show up a lot differently and are going to have a lot more impact because they're going to come from a different space in your heart. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's why those had to disappear. It's great that you wrote them, but you're not that same person that you were and that you are now. Let me give you an example. I believe in epigenetics, and we had this conversation in my group last night, Coffee, Tea, and Spirituality in Gulfport, Florida. And back in 2014, when I began working with my first teacher, I did a lot of transformation. I went through my very own transformation. And my twin brother will tell you, I'm not the same person that I was in 2014 that I am today. And I do believe through meditation, through all the spiritual tools that I've used to transform myself, that I am truly a different person. You're doing so much deep work in so many different ways on your spiritual journey right now, that when it comes time for you to write these books again, they're going to show up a lot more differently, and the way the creator and your higher self wants them to show up.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah. So, really, it is about how we respond. It's so easy to knee-jerk respond in any situation, be it with a relationship, a friendship, a work situation. And being able to stand back, be the witness, and get into that neutral space and get out of the emotion of it, so that you can respond from a place of love and compassion. That's a hard place to go to, because we're so used to just knee-jerking and getting mad. So, you're in a situation, it's fiery, excuse yourself from the room. Or you get an email that sets you off and triggers you. Remember, triggers are places where you have to heal. They teach you where you need to heal. You step back and you don't respond to that email or that text for 24 hours, maybe even 48 hours. You wait to respond until you're in that neutral place. Getting into that calm isn't easy. It's taking that deep breath and saying, okay, and you'll notice that Katriel used the words, oh, well, why did this happen to me? That immediately puts you into victim energy. Victim energy is very low vibrational. So you ask yourself, this happened for me. Okay, why did this happen for me? I may not, because I'm in the muck of it right now, understand it, but it happened for me, and I may not understand it in this moment, but I will understand it maybe in a couple days or maybe a little bit longer, depending on how I integrate it.
Yeah. Mer.
Right on.
And that definitely explained a little bit about Scorpio season. Because like with Scorpio season or Scorpio energy, it's like it's so much energy. It can be very passionate energy. It's very intense. But it's this sacred space that we create, right? For this beautiful transformation. We can guide the energies any way we want. And like you said, taking space in between, like before responding, that's definitely part of this energy.
Absolutely. It's a transformational time. I mean, Scorpio is a water sign. That's correct. And it's a time of dealing with shadow work, dealing with the deeper work, reflecting on ourselves, abundance. How are we bringing abundance into our life during this time? Because the energies are so strong. We're in this Mercury retrograde, and some have interpreted this Mercury retrograde as one actually that is very abundant, with very different energy. And for myself personally, it has been a very abundant time in a different way. And I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about things like this podcast that has shown up for me, that has put me in abundance. It fills my heart up, right? So in this transformation, not easy. You're struggling. It's challenging and whatnot. And you allow the emotions, you allow the flow, let the water, let everything just flow through you. And everything always turns out okay. That's what we've got to remember, is that we cannot sweat the small stuff. can't sweat the small stuff.
Even the big ones too.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I actually read something about. Okay, so I taught a Mazel astrology um, class this past week, which simply means good fortune, and um, uh, it's also called Jewish astrology. And what I read in regards to Scorpio was kind of funny, actually. It literally painted the picture of like releasing all like the Scorpio energy in part of the tikkun. Tikkun can be interpreted as corrections or healing. Okay, um, kind of like the term tikkun olam. And so like it has to do with your soul mission type of stuff. So those born in Scorpio season or those born with a north node of Scorpio, this like definitely applies to you, or even a rising, you know? Um, it's so interesting because it said, you know, releasing all attachments in this lifetime is really important to allow you to level up into the spiritual world.
Mhm.
And it's so true. You know, like there's again, Scorpio is in the heart of like autumn, right? And so, what do we have coming up? We have Halloween.
Mhm.
It's the sun is progressively there's less sun in each day, all the way up until like Yule time or the winter solstice. And so, as we're in the heart of that, the shadows can play tricks on us. But when we can, like you said, shadow work, jump into the shadow
Mhm.
and realize it's just a shadow, like it's nothing more than energy. And we are, we can go into those edgy moments and stuff, and actually that can be a really good thing for us, right? But keeping the intention in mind. Okay. The intention when you're traveling through, like, you start off with an intention and then you get partway through. And I said the tricks, right? Like trick or treat.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
if we are staying true with our integrity lines, right?
Mhm.
Like staying in our own kind of field, right? Those boundaries. Someone mentioned integrity lines. I thought that was freaking genius.
It
And I'll
is
come out.
genius.
I'll come out with that on one of the coming up podcasts. That might actually be. I think it's the first week in November, but it really keeps us in check, and so moving through those tougher things, like sometimes we have to have a little bit of edge to us
Mhm.
in order to get through the muck of the things.
Mhm.
Eh, But that's okay. As long as we're keeping in our integrity and pushing through, and also like, having compassion for the process, that intention will carry us through to a more elevated space if we allow it.
Mhm. Yeah, I think the idea is, there are no mistakes, there are lessons. So, as we cannot beat ourselves up like punching bags. We've done that all too much during our lives. And the idea is we've got to understand that when we get derailed like this, you get derailed. Oh my God, I deleted those files. You get derailed. You have to kind of take a look take a different perspective. Oh my God, I lost them. It's the end of the world. Okay, you want to get out of that and say, this is an opportunity. Do you see the magic in looking at it through those glasses instead of, oh my God, I lost them, right? So, and that's hard for human beings to do when we're in this 3D body. We lose a job and we think it's the end of the world. When I lost a very big job in the corporate world back in 2018, I knew immediately Spirit had something bigger for me. My boss, who was also my best friend, couldn't believe it. He was so upset. He knew I owned a house. I said, it's going to be okay. This is for me. Spirit's just saying it is time for me to leave Phoenix. It's time for me to step into my practice and all of that. And certainly it's been an incredible journey since then. But I could have looked at it as mere disaster, but I didn't. I always figured out ways to make ends meet. It wasn't disaster, and it worked out just fine. And here I am today in Florida, right? So it's a flow. And this is again why meditation is so important. You get those situations that come up. Go outside, stick your feet in the dirt, earth, take a moment and breathe. Even if you don't have a regular meditation practice, just sit outside and pay attention to your breath, listen to the beautiful nature, and calm yourself down. And just relax and know, and just keep saying, put a mantra in your head. Everything's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And it will be.
Yeah. It's something, okay, so on our conversation with prepping for this, we talked about going deeper in the layers, right?
Right.
I want to bring that in now because I'm really feeling something. So, feeling something. One thing about Scorpio. Okay, so, all right, my birthday's coming up. I'm in the heart of Scorpio season. I get this. So, anyone out there who's also an empath, which we've talked about, right? And is really attuned to the energies, there's a lot more going on than our perception, right? And so I spoke at the very beginning that my stomach hurt so badly after realizing that these files are being transmuted, right? Essentially, the writings were so they were coming from my soul, right? And I can feel into that layer. So there were energy, like when we write something, for instance, we're actually grounding certain energies in, right? And the words we choose, especially if we're writing from a passionate space, we're writing with our soul, literally with our soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for instance, I can feel into, my soul literally felt it. It's out there. It's transmuting. Human, Katriel, don't necessarily know what's happening with the energy. It feels like it's out of whack, right? Why? Because it's transmuting. It's that Aquarius energy, like how you said, kind of have to allow things to move and a little bit freak out, in order for it to transform. It has to be uncomfortable in a sense. And so this is a reminder. I'm using this example as a reminder when we're in this season, things may not be what appears. We may be feeling into some deep things. It could be our own soul journey. It could be the friends that we hang out with. It could us also being, feeling into something that is coming, premonition type of stuff. All are totally valid within Scorpio, especially because of the layers. It's deep and it's passionate. And again, how we guide that energy, like you just said, with meditation, we're able to get into that space. And, for me, it would be calling back my essence, right? Because it's feeling too much. And I can literally say, I don't want to feel that much. I have that right. I can literally say that. And I can take back what I perceived as losing something, right? again, 3D terms.
Yeah.
But meditation, again, is a powerful tool, especially, for like things like wanting to unite energy together and have a more harmonious experience. We can do that etherical work within this space. During this time, important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think I can also give an example that, when I left the corporate world 6 months ago,
Yeah.
stepping into my practice full time, uncomfortable? Hell yeah. Yeah, it was uncomfortable, but I've never been happier. But, when something happens to you, don't expect yourself remove those expectations. Allow yourself to be vulnerable. Allow yourself to transmute what you need to transform and transmute, integrate it, and then release it. And then it will show up like it's supposed to. It's kind of like we look at abundance in so much, society is so attached to money. And abundance is so much more. For me, it's health and food on my table and a roof over my head, and everything else is gravy. So when I look at abundance and what my expectation is, my higher power, bring it to me in whatever form will lift me and allow me to serve at a higher level, to serve the people that I want to serve and serve myself so I can receive, right? So we have to release the form in which it's going to come in. The form in which you'll create your books is going to be amazing. And it's going to come from a different self now because you're evolving and ascending. So when you wrote the books, you might have been here. Now you're here.
Yeah.
Where would you rather write the books? Here, right? That's where you want to write them. So you have to get into that place of gratitude again. Thank you, Creator, for having me delete those. I am thrilled. I have the opportunity now to create from a very different space because I'm a different person.
Yes.
Ooh, yeah, some deep stuff.
Yeah.
It is, in my group last night, there were so many deep conversations. It's amazing starting this coffee, tea, and spirituality group to bring people together who are like-minded on this spiritual journey, the messy transformation, and these beautiful conversations that we had that actually were all so parallel in the discomfort, in the pain that we went through to release something, to move from a place that didn't serve us, to release a relationship or a friendship that really no longer served us, to elevate ourselves and to see the beauty start blooming all around us. The best part of the group for me, just really being transparent here for me, was the laughter. And that's really what this podcast has done for me. I need to laugh more. I absolutely am very aware of it. And this podcast and that group have both brought laughter into my life.
I love that.
That is abundance, folks. That's abundance because it fills my heart and my soul up. So I'm going to ask you tonight to think about what fills your heart and soul up. Think about that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That is the key to life, really.
Yeah.
Like, there's the rat race out there. If you want to, do the same thing over and over and over again, but I don't know, I feel like there's definitely so much more.
There is. And we know with the pandemic, and I've seen it with my clients, I've seen it with people coming to my groups saying, I'm lost. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm not the same person I was before the pandemic, and I don't want to go back. What's my new normal? Who am I? Ask yourself that. I did a YouTube video on my YouTube channel about that. Who am I? How do you define yourself? How do you define yourself? When someone asks you, who are you? I say, I'm love. Because that's who I am. Truly.
I think another topic wants to sprout out of the ground, and it kind of goes with Scorpio season, which is if you have the transformation, if you have this transmutation energy going on, right? Well, what is the complementing energy? Taurus energy, which is the manifestation, the sprouting out of the ground. And what is a major key point to Taurus? It's the values. Okay. Our values. What do we value? Do we value ourselves? What is our value? And so that all goes in, with what lights up our heart. Taurus, the leading planet, is Venus. And Venus is all about lighting up that heart space. And so that's why Taurus and Scorpio work very well together. It's actually funny. A Scorpio and a Leo make a Taurus.
Oh my. So I'm Leo and he's a Scorpio. So that's very, very interesting. That's very, very interesting. See, and just as to digress for a moment, I've had some of my friends listen to these podcasts and they're like, wow, the synergy with you and Katriel is just off the charts. And we just met in a coffee shop and now, we're beginning to understand at a deeper level why the universe has us working together. And, you're looking at two people, by the way, that are like at least 30 years. I don't know how good with Katriel is, but we're at least 30 years apart in age. And yet it's like we've known each other all of our lives. And this is what it's about, folks, when you meet people. You've got to go by your intuition. You've got to trust what you're getting, and you've got to trust that beautiful synergy. Because you see, when people are looking for love partners, right, they're looking at the physical only. You've got to feel the energy. And when you feel the energy, go with it. It doesn't matter what the exterior looks like, what the age looks like, any of that.
Right.
Because when there's that beautiful synergy, the energy just flows.
Totes. Totally. It totally does. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Drinking mother kombucha.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Go get yours today. No kidding. where was I gonna go?
Well, we were talking about, it's all right. We were talking about self-worth, self-value. We were talking about this before, the fact that men and women have a different concept of what their worthiness is, right? We do. Men have no problem right up front, maybe charging something, for a certain price where a woman might devalue themselves. And I'm not saying this is a generalization, folks, but they might not set the price for the same service because there's more, it's socialization, it's programming and a bunch of other things. Now, it really depends on how you were brought up too, and that programming as you were brought up. So if there's some women that were brought up in a family where, they were confident and whatnot, then there's not that issue, that doubt. But we get into value and self-worth and how do we conquer that? It's going back to the heart space and the love space, right? Because if we weren't brought up to be confident and stand up and say, yeah, this is what I'm worthy, then this is something we have to release and that we have to develop in ourselves.
Yeah. And within our conversation, I was telling you about my friend who she's a Libra, and her like value type of system of like moving forward with things and stuff was really kind of cool. So when I went to Seattle, we went on a bunch of adventures. And one of the things she taught me is like we would go like say into a restaurant, right? And she was like, "All right, what do you want to eat?" And so like instantaneously during that trip, especially, I left with negative bank account. It was like, so my first thing was, okay, so I made a little bit. I just got to see how much. And she says, no, listen, look at the menu and what speaks to you, what lights your heart up, and choose that. Now, I love the concept, and I was like, what? And she says the rest will follow through because you're now speaking from your heart space to the universe of something that lights up, and the universe is going to match that in some way, shape, or form, right? And ironically, during that trip, she really helped me so much. And I will tell you, she ended up buying that meal for me because I couldn't afford it. But I will tell you, when you come from a heart space, the universe always provides. And what you're saying is, I'm valuable. You're acknowledging that, and that you're allowed, guys, to take up space on this planet. A lot of times people are like, like kind of hesitant to like give something to themselves. It's okay. In order to go through this journey, we got to take those small baby steps and give back to ourselves.
We do. And so this is what Katriel is really talking about, is lack mentality. When we get into a lack mentality, guess what you are going to continue to attract? Lack. So that's why it's really important to, I'm a big Louise Hay fan, and positive affirmations, which are basically mantras. And put something on your refrigerator or someplace you can see it in your house every day. And something like she has one that's, I am a magnet for abundance. Think about that. I'm a magnet for abundance. Okay. So, while there's times in our lives where we might have to be frugal, and not be stupid, it doesn't mean you can't receive.
Right.
And it's in a matter of staying in abundance, and not when you get into that lack, it's what you're going to continue to attract. So it's energetically just doing little things to keep the energy moving in the positive direction, and know that you are taken care of. You are taken care of.
It's funny, something just popped into my head. And let's just take this little example with what you just said and apply money to it, okay? By the way, the word money literally means energy. Okay? Also, another little thing is the word harmony, okay? My mama Kay, she told me this back in the day, that har is literally like the same vibration as God, okay? And again, har, money, again, energy. So it's that God energy. In order for things to be harmonious, we're essentially like looking up with it, right? And that allows for us to balance out. Now, let's apply this idea of value with money, okay? In the law of attraction. So if I if I have $5 and I spend the $5 and I have nothing else, the universe is going to have a hard time matching that. So, what's really interesting, what I've actually been playing with lately, is having different accounts. Like, so it's easy in this day and time to have different accounts, and you have your cash, you have your bank account if you want, a PayPal account, Venmo, Cash App. Like, there's different versions of everything, right?
Mhm.
Just try this once, okay? Save $5, okay? And see if you don't see that $5 replicated somewhere within your funds, okay? When you add to it, then it gives permission to the universe, essentially, to match that amount. But if we keep depleting that energy, okay, in specifically within the money, right, then it becomes a little bit more difficult to match it, because we have to work harder to have just even one more thing put in, right? It creates this like harder energy. So I encourage you guys to try this out and see if you don't see money just flying at you when you start to play with it, you know? And I will say, I did this, and I even added different currencies. Remember, there's Bitcoin, there's a bunch of other currencies out there. If you're planning on maybe even moving to a different country or visiting a different country, you can even play with that.
Yeah.
Ideas.
Exactly. It's all about flow. And, yes, it's okay. If you're feeling down, sometimes you just allow that. But when you're continually in the victim energy of, oh, I can't afford this, I can't afford that, and this and that, it's just going to continue that energy. So that's what you've got, the money energy and everything. All it is energy. So you get into that place of asking for it. Ask your higher self, ask for whatever form it's supposed to come in. Allow abundance with happiness, peace, calm, money, all of those things. We are allowed to ask our higher power for those things. Just don't put it in a certain form, because then you've boxed yourself in. Right? So don't judge. I don't know. I have my practice now. And do you think I knew 6 months ago I was going to start a coffee group? Had no idea. Now I've got a coffee spirituality group. Fantastic, right? So you don't, it's just allowing. It's just, I'm going to give you a hard example. Last night, finishing up the group, and I say, hey guys, look, this is a donation-based group because I have to pay for meetup advertisement and whatnot. If it resonates with you to donate, if it does, great. If it doesn't, great. I'm happy to have you here, however that works. Next thing I knew, I had $100 in my pocket. Never expected it, okay?
Wow.
Right? Because I didn't expect it. I didn't push it. I didn't whatever, and it just dropped in. That's how abundance works. That's how the magic works, right? And had so much gratitude. I had more gratitude for the group than I did the donations, because I went home and my heart was full, because we all just had such beautifully revealing conversations about our journeys. And because that filled me up, the abundance came along. This goes to your work. So we're going to digress to your work. Do you love what you're doing for work? Oh, you don't? So why don't you do something that you love? So let's say you have a hobby of candle making, or a hobby, some other type of hobby, and you've always wanted to do it. Go for it. Go for it. When you get into doing something that brings you joy with your own business and your own creation, the abundance is going to take care of itself.
Right. And so also something that you had said within what you explained like last night. something that you created within this process. And it was the container for all this to occur.
Mm-hmm.
That's Scorpio. It's the container. We have to have a container of some sort to be able to hold the energies, to put those energies inside, you know? And I'm not talking about this in a limited way. It's just like you're harnessing that energy for that specific thing. It doesn't have to be anything more than that. But she was able to receive from it because she created the container for it.
Right. And I didn't expect anything. And so remember, when you create expectations, you will get disappointed because it may not have the exact outcome that you want.
Right.
I had zero expectations. This was a brand new group. I didn't know who was going to show up and whatnot. And, you know, as it went along, I was like, oh, should I ask for donations or not? You know, be nice because it will help pay the fees for the meetup. And I said, why not? If you don't ask, you don't get. And so I was, and it does. I created the container and it took care of itself. But back to your work. If you're in a job you don't like, but you have something that you think you could create, maybe a photography business, a candle business, whatever it might be, pottery, whatever, start doing it at least on the side. Watch you start filling your heart up. Go to some of the farmers markets with whatever you're making and watch the abundance come in now because you're doing what you love. And I will bet you 2-3, you'll be able to leave your job. Or if you dive into it full time, you're going to make it happen because now you're spending all of your energy on that thing that you love. And you've left that corporate thing behind that was just weighing you down and dragging you down.
You're essentially creating space for new, beautiful things to come through.
I love that.
Important. Like, imagine just like putting it in a practical, like this is practical too, but look at a different way in regards to physical items. Okay. My house is completely full with items and I wanted to buy something new. Well, where the heck is it going to go? It's going to be uncomfortable, right? Uncomfortable in the way that something needs to leave because it's hindering the use, right? There's no flow. It's kind of like, right? But when we can take a couple items out of the house and say, wow, the energy feels better. And all right, so maybe we do have the item that we purchased, or maybe we don't. It can flow in perfectly. And a lot of times it's not there yet, okay? The item, because that's where the magic is. It's the faith in the process. And honestly, that's kind of where we're moving towards, is that. And so have a little faith in the process when, for instance, you want to switch jobs. It will, when you set a clear intention and you do the appropriate, creating space and actions towards that goal, the universe will match it.
Yeah. I mean, I left the corporate world. I spent time marketing because I've been in sales and marketing for years. I put my energies full time into doing it, and it's just continuing to build itself. Creating space. I had a psychic mediumship practice group. I felt it was time to release it, to bring and open up the space to create something new. That was the Peace Circle, and that was my new coffee, tea, and spirituality group. So we have to and that's following your intuition, following what your gut says.
Yeah.
So how do you follow that? You have to have a mindfulness practice. You have to have a meditation practice, because what it does is, in that space of silence, you're going to be able to feel what's for your highest and best interest. You're going to be more sensitive as you meet new people. You get that red flag. Oh, this doesn't feel right. You'll be more sensitive to it. But you can only get more sensitive to it and be more in tune with that intuition when you're creating that space of silence every single day, working the meditation muscle to develop it. And what you'll find is that as you get into building your intuition, you trust it more, and now you're navigating through life with a lot more flow, and things start to show up for you that you want to manifest in your life.
I don't know why this is coming through, but it was really funny to see what was going on in my head, and you put it out there in the physical. She's going like this. I was like, well, you know, that meditation process can look in so many different ways. We've talked about that. And what came to mind was like fishing, like the meditative, you know, like practice of fishing. And that's kind of what we do in life, essentially.
Yeah, we kind of throw out what exactly, but it's really true. I mean, with my groups the last year and a bit in Gulfport, I've basically just kind of thrown it out. Let's see what works. If I didn't get traction, and I just kind of waited to see what resonated, what worked. And if I felt like it was time to create space for something new and move into a new project, that's what I would do. Yeah. It wasn't giving up on it. It was creating space. And I'll give you an example. I had a meditation group in Gulfport. There was a time it came, and Spirit's like, it's really time to close them down. I closed down the meditation group, and the next thing I knew, I was getting more private clients.
Wow.
Because I created the space.
Bam.
That's it. Yeah.
And the one last thing in regards to that, it's like, you know, the whole process of life is kind of like, we never know what is going to happen, right? But we put it out there, we set that intention, we create that sacred space. But what we don't have control over is how it happens. That's the beautiful part, though. You know, like if you knew what was going to happen ahead of time, would it be fun? You know, would it create that spark of joy within you? No, probably not. I mean, maybe some people, but like whole life, like that for me would just be like, take all of the magic away. And I like magic.
Yeah. Yeah, we have this perception that everything is supposed to look a certain way. Yep. You got to release that. I never thought I would be in my own practice, living in beautiful Gulfport, Florida, meeting amazing people. I just never in my life did I think it was going to show up this way. So a big part of it, and especially since we're coming into full moon, which is about releasing and surrendering, this is about surrendering. So as we come into this full moon, and we're in the full moon energy now, think about what you want to release. What do you want to surrender to? Are you going to have to get to the point where you're exhausted before you surrender? Well, you may. Maybe you won't. But the idea is saying, okay, universe, I'm done with this. I'm ready to move on. And then the universe will bring in what's for you. But you've got to trust it. Trusting it is really, really hard. But it's a matter of sitting in that discomfort, allow it, and just know it's going to be okay. Put your positive affirmations out there. Ask your higher power for what you want. Be in that space of gratitude for what you have in this moment, because it's precious. Health is so precious. And everything, it just expands from there with the gratitude. It will just drop in. I'm going to give you another example. I get a call from one of the crystal shops. They said, hey, it's a 1-year anniversary. We'd love you to come over. Now, I have not been doing any classes or anything over there. And I went over there and chatted with everybody. And the owner comes up to me and she said, I want you to start doing some classes here come January. Boom. You see how the opportunity and the abundance when we attract it. I didn't ask for it, never even dreamed I'd be. And sure enough, the owner come January wants me to start doing some classes there. That's how it works. It's that easy. It just drops in. If you start pushing it, the universe is going to push back at you. Remember, what you resist persists. What you resist persists. So you've got to surrender. What are you going to surrender with this full moon? What are you tired of? What are you exhausted of? What do you want to create? And as you surrender, the abundance and the new creation and your beautiful, beautiful desires will come right in.
Yeah, and the other thing is how you bringing it back to gratitude is part of the full moon. Yes, we release things and it'll be aligned with the Aries energy because it'll be a full moon in Aries. So, kind of letting go of any egoic stuff that no longer serves us. That's like one little aspect there. But the other thing is what is fully coming into fruition because it's a full moon, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that right there, everything that has just been gifted to us by the universe, it's a good time to thank, the creator for every little thing, even though if it may be what we wanted it, how we wanted it to happen or whatever, it all came out, and then, that sets the tone for when we get to, the moon will naturally start to, go a little bit darker. We'll get to that new moon where we set that intention again.
Right. It's a divine feminine energy. Remember, that's what's in the moon. The moon is divine feminine.
Yeah.
It's nurturing. It's loving. So, it's really a beautiful time. We know that, the moon affects the tides. Well, last time I checked, what are we, 75% water? So guess what? It's going to affect your energy. I didn't notice it for the longest of time. And then friends were like, wow, you seem to get a little different around the moons. So now I notice I set intentions around the moon. Creator, what do I want to release this full moon? And I do. And the new moon comes in. What do I want to create? Set intentions. They're a beautiful time for you to just take some pause for you to get into that deeper heart space and set intentions for you, not for your partner, not for anybody else, for you to release and then bring in the new with the new moon.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that was this great episode.
Yeah. We always just put it out there and, just, look, we're energy. Energy speaks. We are energy.
Yeah.
And we just got to flow with it.
Yeah.
It's not always easy. We hit these walls sometime. Allow the walls and thank the walls. Thank the pause. Thank the creator for your pause in your life when you hit one of those walls.
Yeah.
Because remember, it's for you. It's for you to take pause and recreate what you're doing.
Within the silence and those empty spaces is the most beautiful words coming from the creator, in that stillness. So,
yeah. Beautiful. Another great episode. We love doing these episodes. My name is Lisa Bromfield. My practice is Take 5 Meditations. I'm an energy healer, psychic medium, and spiritual mentor. I have a private practice and groups. Katriel is the navigator of the stars, amongst many other things.
I do Orasoma. If you guys haven't heard of it, it works with the colors and it's a really cool thing. Just look it up. The best website you can do is type into your browser Orasoma USA, and the bottles on there that you'll see, and just read a little bit about it. It's really cool. And also on Energy Speaks podcasts, when you look it up, there's a entire podcast dedicated to Orosoma and the backstory and my connection to it. I'm an artist, so I also from Orosoma created soul portrait readings, and wow, essentially what I do is I sit down with you, I create the sacred space to get messages from the creator, and I essentially take my pastels and create a piece of art of the snapshot of your soul, and spiritual messages will come through. And so that's just two of the things that I do. And I also teach classes as well at the Sunship. But yeah, like also I want, before we leave this forum, we're again on every Sunday except for next week. It's a birthday celebration for myself. But every Sunday, 6 p.m. And if you guys have topics you want to talk about, please send them in or chat with us. We like that. It's fun.
Yeah, definitely. No, we definitely want this to be interactive and whatnot, and we'd love to bring topics to this show for you guys, and we're happy to discuss them.
Yeah. Well, thank you all, divine, beautiful souls, and please have a beautiful week.
Beautiful week, you guys. Thank you so much.